speaking today, I'm continuing in Eric's sermon series called One Word Reputation, that one word that defines us being love. And before I get into today's story, if you will, from the Bible that shows how Jesus was a one-word reputation of love, and that's how he lived his life, I want to talk about what love is and what we think love is, because love is one of the most confusing things in the world. You know, it's just like the most coveted thing in the world, and it's what everybody lives for and what everybody wants, whether they realize that or not. It's like this want to love and to be loved, and that drives us, like, whether we realize that or not. The problem is, since we live in a broken, fallen world and we're broken, fallen people, our idea or definition of love is so twisted, it's so gross, and so I kind of like wanted to do this little illustration that I thought of like 3 minutes ago, and because I was trying to think, like, how do you talk about what love is? Because I honestly, what do I know about love other than God loves me? I can say the word, but I'm too broken to even completely understand what that means, what unconditional love is, because as bad as I want it, I will always have conditions because I'm human, and until the day I die, that's the way it's going to be. I have sin nature. But love is this would be the love of God. And then I use grape juice without thinking, but it's kind of cool because, like, yeah. But, and then this is the love of the world. And it's very empty. And, but, you know, like, they're both cups. You know, they're both the exact same size. They both look the same. But if you drink out of one, you get something. And if you drink out of the other one, you get nothing. And it doesn't make sense. You would obviously drink the grape juice because A, grape juice is amazing, and B, I don't know, you don't like grape juice, I don't know, but anyway, so like this idea that love is, from the love of the world, I'll talk about love of the world. Love of the world is temporary, it's fallible, it's conditional, and it's empty. And we constantly pick it up and we drink it and we drink it and we drink it and we get nothing from it, but we're always drinking out of it like we're going to get something out of it. Like someday something is magically going to come out of this cup and it's going to keep me full, it's going to keep me real, it's going to, if I just try and drink out of this cup enough, if I put as much of myself in this cup as possible, then I'm going to get something out of it. But no, you won't. No matter what, you will never get true love from this world or anyone or anything in it. Never. And it's hard to hear because everybody's, yeah, love, hippies love us, I don't know, they love trees, but it's that's why I can't stand about the word love is so twisted, you know, like people say I love you to their boyfriend of 1 week or a girlfriend of 1 week, and it's like, dude, like what? You know, like, because love from God is unconditional. Love from God is even though you're broken, even though you've let me down, even though you've done everything possible you can do wrong, I pick you up and I call you my own, and I wait for you at the door every day, and I cry when you cry, and I laugh when you laugh, and I love you so much. There's no other word to describe it than love. And in the Bible it even says God is love. And people who don't know God cannot love. And so, when I drink this, it's good. It's really good. And I'm going to drink the rest of that later. I don't have time to drink it all now. But you know what I mean? Like, so I just really want to set that right now before I talk about Jesus and Peter. Because this is what love is talking about. Not this. Don't pick it up. I'll pick it up later. Not that cup. Forget about that cup. This cup is garbage. Like, it will break under my foot. Oh, no. Yeah, take that, Earth love. No, but you know what I mean? Like, it's gonna leave you like that. Broken and useless, and eventually in the garbage can or recycle bin or something. But you know, it's just, I really wanted to get that across before I got into today's, because love is such a beautiful thing. It's the reason we're all here today. It's the reason we all have blood coming through our bodies and breath coming through our lungs, you know, like, we are so loved that God's planned out this very day, this next hour, this next minute, just for us, you know, just for you. because he loves you that much. This is after the crucifixion. The disciples, Peter's who we're talking about today, Peter, he was a fisherman before he followed Jesus. And that was all he knew. That was his trade. That's all he did. And Jesus, he walked with Jesus, discipled under Jesus for years, and then Jesus was killed. He was crucified. And Peter gave up. He went back to fishing. He went back to what he knew. So he didn't completely believe. But part of him did. A big part of Peter loved Jesus, believed in Jesus. But he didn't quite grasp that was all supposed to happen. He couldn't fathom how that would be supposed to happen. So he went back to fishing because everything for the last few years of his life was a lie. And his gut was telling him that. So he went back to what he knew. And so he's out there fishing. And they're on their fishing boat, and then this guy calls from the shore, he's like, hey, basically like telling Peter, like, long story short, it's Jesus. Peter's in the water, he's fishing, and Jesus like calls out and makes some remarks, letting him know it's Jesus, like, if you fish on this side, like kind of like how they first met. So I think that's kind of interesting how he comes back. And so Peter realizes it's Jesus, and he's with all his other disciple friends on the boat, and so they could boat into the shore. And this is what I love about Peter. This is my favorite thing about Peter. They're boating into the shore, but he jumps off the boat and swims to Jesus because he's that irrationally in love with Jesus. Because even though he had like given up and checked out, he's like, oh man, like, it's Jesus. I could wait in the boat, but it doesn't make sense. It makes more sense to just jump in the water, which it doesn't, but I'm glad he did, because that to me a lot of the times, like, I do stupid stuff, but God looks at it and smiles. Like, you can imagine Jesus says, Peter, like, what are you doing, man? So Peter swims up and he's all wet, and Jesus is making breakfast for him because he's the man. Like, obviously, the way to any man's heart is breakfast. Throw that out there. No. And so Jesus and Peter and the rest of the disciples, they're all talking. I imagine they're having a good time. Like, yeah, we love you, we're all going back and forth, just happy community breakfast, heart, man, so they're having this good community over breakfast, and Jesus stops, and he asks Peter once, he goes, Peter, do you love me? And I'm sure Peter, without thinking, heard the question, he was like, well, yeah, I love you, like, duh, and then Jesus replies, then feed my sheep. And then I imagine they start talking again, and Peter's like, well, doesn't think twice about it, he's like, oh, that's cool, I love Jesus, I'll feed a sheep, like, he got it, but he didn't really sink in. Kind of rolled off his shoulders because I'm sure he was just pumped, caught up in the moment, talking, and so then they're talking, and again, the second time, Jesus asked Peter, he goes, Peter, do you love me? And you have to think at this point, Peter's probably like, man, did like Jesus hit his head, or like, he just answered this, but... So it's like it kind of awoke something up in him. He started thinking, and he goes, yeah, of course, Jesus, I love you. And Jesus goes, well, then feed my sheep. So at this point, Peter's probably like, still in the conversation, but thinking like, what? Like, so like everybody's still talking, but he's like, might be engaged, but not really there. He's still thinking about like, well, the Lord of the universe keeps asking me if I love him, and telling me to feed his sheep. And, Peter's the one that stepped out of the boat on faith and walked a few steps on water towards Jesus. Peter is the one that cut off the captain of the guard's ear in an effort to protect Jesus. Peter loved Jesus, irrationally so. He's the one that jumped out of the boat and swam for Jesus. And so he has to be thinking like this. He's like, have I not shown it? Like, what? So he's thinking and he's thinking and thinking. And at this point, probably starting to get some convictions, probably starting to look more into himself and into what love really is. And they're all talking, and they're talking, hey, get you past the gravy, yeah, thanks, man. And then, Peter, a third time, do you love me? And at this point, Peter answers, he says, yes, Lord, who created everything and knows everything. You know that I love you. It says Peter was greatly hurt this time when Jesus asked him, because you have to be thinking in Peter's head. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. And I had to be eating him and eating him and eating him. He's like, yes, Lord, I know I failed. I know I fell back, but I love you. I promise I love you. I know I'm falling short, but I love you. God, can you please just let me? And Jesus is like, then feed my sheep. So he knew what was going on in Peter's head. He just said, yes, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. And Jesus reached way deeper into that, obviously. Whether the rest of the disciples knew what was going on or not, but they knew Peter was greatly hurt by this question because it came 3 times, and it stabbed him because he knows he denied Jesus. He lost faith when he was walking on water. He acted out in anger and cut someone's ear off. He failed Jesus so many times. But still Jesus calls him to feed his sheep. Even a 3rd time he says, then feed my sheep. And that's us. You know, that's Jesus talking to us, because constantly, I messed up, maybe a little more than 3 times, but and God constantly tells me, Chad, do you love me? And he asks me that every single day. He asks me that when I'm choosing what music I'm going to listen to. And I can listen to Lionheart, Los Angeles Hardcore, or I can listen to Hillsong United. Chad, do you love me? Which one of this would glorify me? When I'm, whatever I'm doing, when I'm talking to my parents, how I interact with them, and I'm talking to my mom, and maybe she says something I don't agree with, and I'm thinking of how I'm going to respond, and I say, he asked me, Chad, do you love me? And I say, well, yeah, God, I love you. Then feed my sheep. And would feeding a sheep be yelling at my mom, or would it be talking to her out of respect? And so this kind of like sinks into every aspect of our lives. Every decision you make, God is going to ask you, do you love me? And when you respond yes, he's going to have a follow-up for that. Then feed my sheep, then act on it. Act like it. You love me, then love me. And that's so important, you guys.